I realize I don't really have a cue now to tell when the podcast starts, because I used to go off of stuff from...
I'll slam it as hard as I can.
Yeah, thank you. God, just your computer just goes out. All right, folks, welcome to the Homespun Yak. Kyle and I are trying some really new fancy gadgets for the podcast, so hopefully you enjoy the change that we're going to be trying to implement. One of those changes is video. I mean, Kyle's been on top of the whole posting stuff on YouTube and whatnot, but we thought, why not give this a shot with a program called vMix? So, yeah. What are your first impressions, Kyle, from the other side?
Well, yeah, I think it's nice. It'll open us up to maybe a larger audience and enable us to, in real time share and talk about things like videos, articles, and share it with everybody else who might be tuning in live or, later on. We actually can show the people what we look like, and I don't know. I think that adds definitely a factor to a podcast, is if you have a video as well. I think, a big platform is YouTube for podcasts as well. A lot of people might not realize that, but for some of my podcasts, I actually prefer to watch them, as weird as that sounds, rather than just listen to them. And it's not like you can be doing a bunch of stuff physically when you're doing a podcast, but I don't know what it is that's appealing to so many people about just the visual aspect of it as well. Yeah. So I think it's a good idea. Can only help.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, though. There's a certain element to like actually seeing a person's face when they're talking. I mean, we always reference him, but Joe Rogan, right? Like the clips that he posts, or I guess young Jamie posts. I tend to prefer those as well, except for when I'm going through the entire podcast. I don't usually like actually watch the full like 2 or 3 hours or whatever podcast. He just recently had one that was like 5 hours or 5.5 hours.
His first one that was on Spotify.
I didn't realize that. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, which was Duncan Trussell, who he's also a comedian, but he has his own podcast now called the Duncan Trussell Family Hour, which I highly recommend. He's from North Carolina, like close to Asheville.
I didn't know that.
I don't know if you listen to any of his conversation with Joe, but he's definitely out there.
No,
he's a far out guy.
I know that he comes in wearing all these different attire, but I've never actually listened to much of his stuff.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, kind of like, he's very funny but also goes off on very spiritual, like psychedelic rants. And he actually has a show on Netflix it's called The Midnight Gospel. It's a cartoon, and I think the people from the cartoon Adventure Time?
Yeah, I do.
So the same artist from that show did this show, but it's like clips from his audio of his podcast, and then they just turn it into like this crazy world where this guy like goes to different dimensions. He's got like a machine that will transport him all these different characters can be, and all these worlds he can choose to live in.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, it's just the crazy, bizarre mind of Duncan Trussell. So definitely worth a watch, but you might have to be in the right frame of mind, if you know what I mean.
It's kind of reminds me of didn't Ricky Gervais do something with like a round table with Carl Pilkington and his name, where they were doing like animations or whatnot?
Yeah, Ricky Gervais show, which was on HBO, was just their podcast audio, but they made it into a cartoon of all of them. And then if they would tell a story, it would be like Carl in that particular story. And it made it way. I listened to the podcast like 10 years ago, and I remember being on a bus, like from going from class to class, and just like not being able to control my laughter in front of just random strangers. Like, I've never had that happen before. And that was like one of the first times listening to the Ricky Gervais podcast. But yeah, when they made it into a cartoon, and I think they're all on YouTube as well, all the episodes, but yeah, visually definitely adds a big element to it.
Yeah. I never actually ended up listening to it. Yeah, I think the only like real exposure I had to Ricky Gervais was just his stand-ups, like Science and whatever Humanity, and like all the different ones where he's talking about all kinds of different things. I think I even watched his most recent one. I don't remember what that one was called though. That was pretty good too. He hasn't lost his touch.
No, he's great. I mean, when he does the Golden Globes, that's always really funny. Yeah. His monologues there. But yeah, he's done some of my favorite shows of all time. I mean, Extras is probably in my top 5, is one of the shows he did. And he created The Office with Stephen Merchant. And then he's got a couple other shows on Netflix now that are great. Afterlife and Derek. Highly recommend. But they're both hilarious, but they're very there are moments where it's very serious, very sad. He's an incredible writer. Just, having seen all of his shows, it's not just like, this is just going to be all about, goofy laughs. And there is that, but there's also like a whole different side of it as well that makes it a lot more interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I remember for a while he was posting, I don't know if he still does this, but he's posting like pictures of himself in the bathroom or in the bathtub. Just these like surface like shots where
he looks like a frog.
Exactly. He's got like a double chin. I have no idea why he started doing that, but he just randomly started posting those consistently.
Just boredom.
Yeah, I guess.
For being a rich, bored person.
Yeah. He even jokes around about that in one of his specials, talking about owning or he could get a helicopter or whatever. And he's just like pointing out at the crowd. He's like, well, I mean, you guys are all poor, but
you don't understand.
Yeah, you don't understand. Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I wish I had a helicopter this past weekend, or at least was able to fly first class, because I was in Sin City.
Were you really?
I was. I was debating saying anything until I got a COVID test, which I did today. The nose swab.
Oh yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's
which is
bad. The nose swab?
No, really?
Did they go all the way up, or like what?
They went pretty far up for 15 seconds each.
Okay, for me, I mean,
they counted 15.
Yeah, for me, they just like barely put it up there and just like swabbed around for like 15 seconds, but it wasn't that high up. Did they lean your head back?
Yeah, my head was. I leaned back, and then it was like 15 seconds each nostril. But it was pretty far up. I mean, I was just like raining tears. And she's just like, yeah, that happens to everybody. And,
dude,
it was so
different. It
didn't hurt, but it was just like, this is like the most uncomfortable thing in the world. I mean, they went hard, and it was the same day, and I came back negative, luckily.
Uh-huh.
So, So we'll see. I mean, I think it's a pretty valid test, I would hope.
Yeah, you'd hope after that trauma that you went through. Was it like a long thing?
It was a long one.
So
yeah.
I just had a teeny tiny short Q-tip that they used for me. Yeah,
I don't know.
We got the good stuff in Maryland.
I guess so. Yeah, Durham's struggling. Yeah, got back negative, so now I can talk about Las Vegas
without any guilt. So how was it? What were you doing there? What was going on?
Oh, well, and back in February, my friend from college, Will Mercer, and his friends they go every year, and I'd only been once before, and they're like, we have, these rooms at the Luxor that are comped because we go every year. We gamble so much that they want us to come back, and they will give us a room for free.
Okay.
Because they know that we'll spend, equivalent or more money gambling, which goes right back into the casino. And so, I basically just had to buy a plane ticket out there. And this was like a couple weeks before COVID was known in the U.S. So we planned that for, this past weekend, Labor Day weekend. And, throughout the entirety of the pandemic thus far, we were monitoring like what was going on, like, should we just cancel it? And, the airline didn't cancel, the hotel didn't cancel. And we just were like, let's just check it out. And, it was good. Everything went really smooth. They had like hand washing, sanitizing stations set up all over the casino and basically all over Las Vegas. And everybody, I saw had a mask on at all times and trying to do their best of social distancing. But it was a lot more people than I thought would be there, but nowhere near full capacity for Las Vegas standards. But it was a fun time, aside from it being 115 degrees in the middle of a desert. It's the hottest place I've ever been in my life. Like, I came back here and I was like, it feels wonderful. It was like 85 and I was like, God, this feels amazing. So it was like it was just basically you walk outside and you're in an oven immediately, but you walk in, it's like the coldest, because all the casinos are just ice cold to like keep you awake, and they're pumping oxygen into the place to like just keep you like up. The like lights are flashing. You're just like, I don't know what time it is, and if you're on a table, the waitresses are there like every 10 minutes, like, who needs a drink? Anybody need a drink? And they just bring you a drink, and you just throw them a $1 or $5 chip every like 4 or 5 times, and you just you're in the zone. I didn't do a ton of gambling, honestly, because I'm not super like confident or competent on all the games. And but I was definitely into craps. I learned, I wouldn't say I'm like good at it, but I learned a lot more about it in order to just be competent enough to play and have fun. That's the only game I won money, really. And then NBA, I won money. But there's in every casino, every casino, there's a place called Sports Bet where they have like theater-sized screens that are showing whatever game's on. So there was hockey, MLB, and then obviously NBA playoffs were on. And you could just sit down in that area and place bets with the person. Like horse racing, whatever. I mean, the thing I learned about is like there's always a horse race going on. And there's always degenerates gambling on horse races. Really? Yeah, oh my God. I saw people just in utter agony. Like, I think the first or second night we were there was the game where Kemba Walker passed, and then the guy dunked it with like a half a second left.
Yeah.
And like three guys were just like jumping up and down, freaking out, like we won whatever amount of money because the Celtics, it's over. And then the Raptors threw it and hit that shot, and they just left right away. And other people were screaming and jumping up and down. It's very intense, like. Which was fun. It's fun if you're winning, but if you're losing, like there's definitely a very dark side to taking it very far anyway. Yeah. But I bet on the Rockets game 1 to win against the Lakers, and they did.
That's a good bet. That's pretty bold.
Yeah. I don't know what came over me. I the game before, the Heat and the Bucks, they had the Bucks as a favorite by like 5 points.
Uh-huh.
So I bet on the Heat to cover the spread, which is to not lose by more than 5, and you win money.
Yeah.
And
I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, and then they ended up winning. So I was like, I'm gonna ride the underdog again with the Rockets. So that worked out pretty well, but it was just like when you have money on a game, you're just like every play. Like an NBA game has never gone by so fast, and I've never been so like into it, like, and so pissed at Russell Westbrook.
Oh, good, great. So pissed at Russell Westbrook. Well, that's definitely fitting. Because holy shit, that guy really does. He just keeps doing it, no matter what. Like he could turn the ball over 10 times. It doesn't matter.
He's just gonna blast through at 100 miles an hour, and just like we'll figure it out when we get there. That's what I realized with him. I was like, "Are you shitting me?"
Yeah.
But yeah, I tried to do another bet that I lost, which was the over-under for total points on the Bucks Heat. It was supposed to be the over-under was 122, and I took the over, but the Bucks only scored like 8 points in the fourth quarter.
I know.
I was like, what in the world? But yeah, it's just interesting, you know, all the different things you can gamble money on, and yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, sounds like it. So you were there for the weekend plus Labor Day?
Yep. Well, I came back early yesterday, so I went down last Thursday through the weekend.
Okay.
And
so were you at the casinos for the most of the time, or just like in the evenings, or did you guys like what was available to actually do in Las Vegas?
The pools are really nice. You could do that. Most of the restaurants are open. All the casinos are open, and there's so many different cool themed casinos that you can go and check out what's going on there. And they're open it's 24/7 with gambling. So, you know, you could see people on a table at 4 a.m, and they're just as amped as you would be at 4 p.m. So it's pretty wild. It's like another world entirely.
Yeah.
Which I can see how it would become addictive. Like a couple of the people that I went with were like, just decided we're not going to sleep at all the last night.
Oh, okay.
Because our flight was so early in the morning, and they just powered through and gambled the entire night.
Wow.
But yeah, like the shows and stuff, that's not open yet. Oh, it will be in October. Yeah, like Cirque du Soleil and Christina Aguilera's down there. A bunch of people. are in and out of Vegas. But yeah, I did see the Raiders' new stadium. It is unbelievable.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Because they're
all
moving next
indoors this year.
This coming year.
It's ready to go. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Like I saw it and I was like, what is that? And then I remembered, Las Vegas Raiders. And then the Golden Knights won Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals, their new hockey team.
Yeah.
So people were really excited about that too. But yeah, the people are amped for the Raiders to be there. And it was cool to see that stadium is unbelievable. I think it's going to hold 70,000, and it's all indoor. I mean,
Wow.
it's got to be indoors because it's 110 degrees every day.
We'll step outside, they just immediately drop.
Oh, you couldn't play in that weather. I promise you could not. Because it's a dry heat too. So it's like, man, I'm not really sweating that much, but I feel like my insides are just dry. It's strange. I feel like I'm dying. But so that was cool to see that. That was really cool. And then there are now a lot of marijuana dispensaries down there because weed is legal there now.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So so that was another interesting aspect to check out, and a lot of new smells down there from last time.
Yeah. When was the last time you were there?
I want to say 2015 or late 2014, maybe.
Okay.
I went with Chase and then a couple other people.
Right.
And we stayed at a completely different area.
Okay. Yeah. So pre-apocalypse.
Yeah. Pre-apocalypse, zero social distancing. Yeah, last time I was there, I saw Tommy Lee, which was cool, from Motley Crue.
Okay, yeah.
And
Tommy Lee.
he's a drummer, and he I guess he was going through a DJ phase because he was at our pool DJing, had a Red Bull, and was hitting that pretty hard. So he was in the zone. It was strange to see him. But yeah, Vegas is, I definitely recommend, even if you're not a gambler, you can find things to do. It's a fun time, and yeah, it's just an iconic city,
Yeah, I'd like to go at some point in my life.
I mean, especially now that the Raiders are there, it's an extra bonus, especially if you're not a gambler, and their NHL team. Now you can actually see live sports instead of just watching it and betting on it. But I guarantee you they'll have slot machines and places to gamble at the Raiders stadium.
I guess
Because they have it in the airport. As soon as you get off the plane, there's slots. They're like, come on in, just start. And people, when you leave, they're like, let me get one more pull.
One more pull reminds me of smokers.
Yeah.
One more drag.
But yeah, there's a section called Old Vegas, which is where everything used to be compared to now, where it's the Strip and the huge hotels. Yeah. It's got a really cool older 70s, 80s vibe to it. And those are where you can find a little bit cheaper games, because with a lot of the games like blackjack and craps, it's like a $15 to $25 buy-in. So you have to bet at least that much with every turn. If you want to play. Yeah. So it's and if it's 25, I mean, there's $50, there's $100. I mean, it goes up and up. And then the more it is, the more you want to put down. Oh God, they better be coming back fast over on those tables. Yeah. But yeah, the more money it is to buy in, the more the rule is the more you want to have in your bankroll, or the more you're willing to spend or lose at that table. It's because if you're doing minimum bets, chances are you're either going to lose it all or just break even. So you really gotta push it sometimes and just risk it all on the dice that you don't roll a 7.
Wow.
It's pretty, and it can be like if you get on a hot streak of rolling numbers, and you make everybody money on the table. There's like 8 people that can play at once, and you're all strangers, right? When you walk up, unless you're playing with a friend or something, but everybody else, it's just like, hey, what's up? Roll the dice. And like, if you're doing well, everybody's like, people are screaming, like so amped up, like your best friend, and like the whole table is just like on fire, and you just become instant friends. Or like you can go the other way pretty quickly too, but it's like, it's not your fault if you roll a 7, but it's just crazy when money is involved, like high stakes money, like you see the whole range of emotions. So yeah,
it seems like a really unique experience. I'd definitely like to go at some point.
Yeah, I definitely recommend, but just a weekend, 3-4 days max, especially if you're gambling, because you're gonna want to win money, or you're gonna want to win back the money you lost, or you're gonna press your luck and lose your money.
Yeah, right.
So it's always good to know like when to walk away, even if you're up. Do
you have like a set number that you aim for then? Like you're like, okay,
I had no real
amount, then I'm out.
Yeah, I think, if you see like, it's just not, especially blackjack, which I'm like, I don't know, that I just had a really hard time with that, because you get like a 10 and a 10, or a 10 and a 9, and you're like, don't hit me, basically. And they have like a 3, and then they'll flip over an 8, and then they'll flip over a 10, and you're just like, really? You beat me with a 19. And that happened so many times where it was like, I can't continue to play this fucking game. Yeah, it's it can really break your spirits. And then roulette is even crazier, because roulette is just like 50-50.
But it lands on red.
That's the one where they red, black, odd, even. The first 12 numbers, the second 12 numbers, the third 12. Specific numbers. There's so many variables there, but Do you win more money, I'm assuming, if you hit the specific number? If you hit the specific number, it's like 35 to 1.
Okay.
So you put $10 down on 8 black, it rolls 8 black, there's $350 for you. So I don't know if the odds are as good as they actually are in real life, but yeah, if you do like red or black, it's just 1 to 1. So if you put $100 on black and it hits black, you get $100. So it's a good way to double your money really fast, or lose it all really fast. So there's a lot of different strategies I was noticing with roulette, where people were just, I don't know, putting money all over the board, basically. Yeah, I had no plan or game plan strategy, because I don't know much about the games, but it's just fun to like watch people play and learn how to do it. Like I wasted no time on slots, because that's just pushing a button on a machine.
Yeah.
Which some people I saw hit really big on it. Like someone won $5,000 just putting in $20, just random machine they sat down at. So there's no strategy to it.
For the slots, it's what like each pull is a certain amount of money. Is that like I'm assuming it's pretty cheap, right?
Yeah, it can be. You can have, there's penny slots, there's dollar slots. Then there's a room that's like high end betting where it has like $20 slots, $50 slots, $500 poker. So, yeah, it's pick your poison, basically.
Oh, man. Well, glad you had a good experience.
Yeah.
Especially during coronavirus. Man, oh man.
Yeah, it was definitely nerve-wracking, but I just the way at least our place did it was, I mean, they had stuff for everybody. They had masks when you checked in, if extra masks, sanitizer. They were really strict on like having people walk around, like checking that you had a mask on, and everybody was spread out. They had like plexiglass in between each player at the craps table. So it wasn't like everybody's just crowding around the table.
Yeah.
They had like spaces that you were distanced from. So, I mean, I think they're doing as good as they can. But, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing you can do is do that kind of stuff. Ultimately, it's just going to end up falling the way it's going to fall. But, yeah, I don't think that there's much you can do if you're in Vegas. You kind of have to open the casinos, have to open the shows and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're definitely to the point now where it's like we're about to really just open it wide open, as far as the shows. And I mean, football's about to start.
Yeah.
So you're going to get so many people in for NFL season just to bet, not to watch the Raiders, but just to bet on games.
Yeah.
NFL season and March Madness are the two times where it is bananas.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the way you described the NBA, I mean, that it's nice that they had the playoffs during this time.
I know.
But I can imagine with March Madness. I mean, that is, like with the NBA, you can be like, okay, I can size up the different teams and be like, okay, this team is better than this team in this way and that way and whatnot. Like the Rockets are going to go small, Lakers are going to go big. LeBron James, James Harden, Westbrook, it said Anthony Davis, et cetera. But with March Madness, it's like, okay, Duke's one.
There's going to be upsets.
Oh yeah,
just which ones are there?
Happen. Exactly, yeah. So I imagine.
Yeah, that's why with NBA, I felt a lot more confident than anything else, because out of all the sports going on, like I'm not going to bet on baseball or hockey. Like I at least know these teams pretty well.
Right. Yeah.
And what can happen potentially. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Kentucky Derby was over the weekend too. Was moved from May to Labor Day weekend, which I had no idea until I saw masses of people like lining up at the sports bet, and I was like, and it was like 9 a.m. their time, and I was like, what's going on? They're like, Kentucky Derby's today. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool too. And so we watched that at, where was it? Caesar's Palace. And it was just like, that was the most pandemonium from start to finish, because it's such a quick race. Yeah. People just screaming at the top of their lungs from start to finish.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that was one where it was like, I know nothing about horse racing, but definitely one you got to watch when there's so much money on the line.
Mm. Did you bet on that one?
Yeah, I did. I bet like a very small bet on just a random horse, because I like the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he did not win.
Okay. How many horses usually race?
I want to say like 15.
Okay, yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Well, related to sports, I have an announcement to make. Kyle, as you saw, the Bucks are terrible. I have decided.
And Giannis is probably gone, right?
I mean, yeah. He's not playing tonight. He was.
And especially if they lose the series, he's probably gone from Milwaukee. Or is he in a contract?
No, he's still in a contract. Yeah, he has at least one more year. I don't know. He might even have 2 more years. I think just 1 more year. But I am denouncing all teams. I am no longer a Milwaukee Bucks fan. I am no longer a Green Bay Packers fan. I am no longer a Wisconsin Badgers fan. I am no longer a team. I am no longer a fan of any teams. That's it. It's just healthier for me. Look, it's just healthier for me. I've just reached this
Just get
point.
your hopes up.
It's completely illogical to sit there and get so high strung and emotional about your team, which has a 1 in like 32 chance of being the winner, and then you have no control over the outcome. And I like having control over the outcome, and it just really, really bothers me when I sit there and watch my team just get destroyed, or even if they're winning. Like, you have these highs and then you have the lows, of course. And so I was thinking, actually, at the end of last year, I was pretty happy with how the Bucks played. It wasn't a disappointment with that last year, but I was thinking at the end of last year, I was like, I think I might just stop. Not stop watching. I love the NBA and I love watching football and whatnot, but I'm just really genuinely tired of, like, you don't get to enjoy the sport as much because you're so focused on your team winning specifically. And if they don't win, then you're like, well, fuck this day. Like,
Yeah.
it's just a shitty day from then on. So I'm just opting out. Also, yeah, I was just getting really frustrated. I mean, the Bucks were down 0-2. And I really don't like the weakness of a team, and the Bucks are a really weak-minded team.
Yeah.
They're just
They are.
they're good, like, they're talented, but they just get steamrolled by like Jimmy Butler is way more mentally tough than anybody on the.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Heat, I don't know where they came from, but they're playing really well.
Yeah.
And they won the first 2 games, and then they still had him as the underdog. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll take this bet. But yeah, they've got a great team, and yeah, the Bucks just look a lot of times like they just were deflated whenever they would go down. It would just be like, whatever, we'll jack up a 3 and miss it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, imagine your team losing, and then you also have money on that team as well. Like that, I definitely saw that with some people, like in jerseys and stuff, like LeBron jerseys and stuff, and just so confident going in, and then just like soul crushing defeats because not only is your team losing, but you're losing money because they lost.
Yeah.
So it's a double whammy. But yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, yeah, I don't know. No pro sports team that I guess I support the Hurricanes by default, but I mean, am I really a hockey fan? Like, no. But they won the Stanley Cup, but I was like 15 maybe when they won.
Yeah.
Like, hockey was probably the last thing on my mind. Like, it's awesome that they won, and I'll take that, I guess. But yeah, Panthers never, Hornets never.
Panthers were the last team that I got really pissed off about when they lost to the Denver Broncos. Not Peyton Manning. Fuck Peyton Manning.
No.
But they lost to the Denver Broncos.
The defense.
That was really irritating.
Yeah, I remember just being like deflated after like the first quarter. It was just like, it's over.
Yeah.
Just, you had that feeling.
Yeah.
After that whole amazing, the best year ever.
Yep.
Like one loss that whole year. And then it was like, we're just a different team in the Super Bowl, which was tough, very tough.
Yep. So I would encourage everybody to just back off their team and just not have a team and enjoy sports for what they are.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was way more invested in the NBA in Vegas. Like, just even when I didn't have money on a game, like, just because the atmosphere, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I was locked in. But I don't know. It could have been the alcohol, just the vibe, the overall atmosphere feeling.
The cocaine I just had.
The medical marijuana.
Marijuana.
The legal marijuana.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to be clear on that. Okay, very clear.
Till the feds pop in.
Yeah, they could. I guess they could. It's not legal federally.
Well, not yet.
Not yet.
Hopefully one day it will be. I really think it's just an inevitability at this point that it'll be legal.
But the war on drugs is working so well.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. It's working so well that each state is individually recognizing that it's working so well by overturning their laws.
Just falling, one by one.
Yeah. How many? It's been quite a few states at this point that have legalized weed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like, I don't know. I mean, we might want to pull that up. Let's see.
We've got our research team working on it, folks.
All right. States where marijuana is legal: Washington, Oregon, Nevada, California.
Really? California?
Alaska. You surprised by California?
Of course I am. Who wouldn't be?
Alaska, Colorado, Illinois, Michigan, Maine, Vermont, Massachusetts. Legalized medical: Montana, North Dakota, Minnesota, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Missouri, Florida, Ohio, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. And that's it.
Huh. Well, in Maryland, or at least in Baltimore, it's like a $10 fine. It's if you get caught. I mean, people smoke weed all the time, just in public here, because it's just.
Oh yeah,
it's not
decriminalized.
Or I guess it is. I guess that's the right term. But whatever it is, like it's.
If you're decriminalized, it's like you cannot be arrested. It's only a fine. Okay. I believe.
Yeah, that I think that's it.
Under a certain amount.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Under like a pound.
Yeah. Actually, funny enough, I was walking back to my apartment today, and I was walking behind these two people, husband and wife, I'm assuming, and with their baby stroller, and they were passing a joint back and forth between.
No.
So.
Wow.
Get some fresh.
This is in Maryland.
This is in Maryland, Baltimore, Maryland.
Are there dispensaries there?
I don't know.
Or this is just medical?
I've never seen one. I don't know. Yeah, but I did find that kind of comical, just pushing their baby down the road while smoking some weed.
Yeah, it's crazy, like going into an actual dispensary and you go up to the person on the counter and they have like an entire menu to choose from.
Yeah.
Where it's like all these different strains and all the effects you can expect to experience with each individual one, whether it's a gummy, whether it's a chocolate, whether it's a pre-rolled joint, or just you're buying just the actual flower itself. It's a pretty intricate, and I don't know. It's very much a business now, which is great because not only does it generate a lot of tax money, but now it's regulated to where you're getting quality stuff. Yeah. Like if someone buys marijuana here in North Carolina, you're buying it from somebody you probably know well, but they're also buying it from someone that you don't know, and they might be buying it from someone you certainly don't know. And you don't know, is this an operation here that you're growing it? Are you buying it in a place where it's legal from a well-run place? Like, you just don't know. And that it cuts out all of that worry where it's like, did you use all this weird, like, growing chemicals or pesticides? I don't know. It's just a lot of that went through my mind in seeing how well run and like safer it is by doing it legally. There's a lot of plus sides to it. Yeah, I don't know.
Just go in asking if it's GMO free and pesticide free and vegan.
Yep.
I'm assuming you went to one in Vegas.
I did. I just popped in just to check it out, just to hand out pamphlets on the Bible and how people can repent. It's never too late. It's never too late to give up your vice, your wicked ways. That's really why I went to Vegas, but
Of course.
had to go in there and tell people what they were doing was evil, unethical, and against God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
An assault against God.
Yeah. So I passed out some MAGA face masks, which was fun. Yeah. A lot of people reacted to that.
Did you notice many Republican, really outwardly Republican people there?
No, not really.
Okay.
But yeah, I couldn't tell. I mean, there is definitely, it's such a diverse crowd there. It's insane. But yeah, I didn't really notice any like outward people being political in one way or the other, which was nice. Except for me, but
Of course. Yeah.
yeah.
Bible thumping with a MAGA face mask on.
And hat.
And hat.
MAGA hat. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I have another smaller announcement. I think I told you a few months ago that our dog died from lymphoma. So we'd had less than a year, and he's back. I'm just kidding. No,
What?
No, he definitely passed away. But yeah, so I mean, my mom obviously really loves dogs, so we got a new dog.
Okay.
She picked him up yesterday. Actually, I'm going to see.
There he is.
Yeah. I just realized that when I do that, the audio cuts off automatically. So I quickly returned it back. If you're watching this, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but he's definitely pretty skinny. I don't know what happened to him exactly, but yeah, you end up finding some pretty shitty situations for dogs. I always find that kind of remarkable, like how a person can mistreat an animal. That kind of throws me off. It's just like I guess I get curious how a person considers animals in general, if they just don't see them as living creatures.
A lot of effed up people out there.
Yeah, no doubt. It seems like it's like one of those things that is difficult to, like, if you have disagreements, right, about like politics, like you disagree about the economy or whatever it might be, even something as strong as like COVID, it's like you can somewhat understand that, like, oh, okay, you're looking at it from this perspective, I'm looking at it from this perspective. But animal abuse is kind of a strange one, to, like starve a dog or beat it or, whatever it might be. It's kind of difficult to wrap my head around. I don't think I'd be able to actually have a civil conversation with a person. Be like, yeah, I just beat my dog. Like, what's the problem?
Right.
It's just the way I do things. Like, all right.
You're probably doing other things that are questionable as well, if you're doing that and admitting you're doing that.
Sure, yeah.
Proudly.
Yeah, but but I wonder what, like, consciously, if that person is perfectly willing to admit it, they must genuinely think in their head, like, hey, this is okay, this is perfectly fine. So I wonder how they perceive a dog. Like, you see some people that see a dog and they're like talking to the dog and they're like, oh, you're so cute, and like trying to like converse with it, almost like it's a cute, small, furry human being. But then you've got this polar opposite where people just, apparently, I don't know what goes through their head, but they end up abusing dogs, beating them or starving them or.
Yeah, I don't know how. Like, I know dogs do some really dumb stuff, like can tear up your house and
Sure.
do all this stuff. But I think for the most part, it just takes a while of training them out of that, and they'll be able to do it. And then also, like, a dog is like the one animal that is never never upset to see you, or never like annoyed or indifferent about like you coming home at any time. It could be 10 minutes later. He's like, well, I guess he's just gone forever. And then you come back and you're like, I thought you were dead. Like, that's like the response from a dog. Like, always positive responses from dogs, like always up for everything, right, no matter what. And to be able to like mistreat it just because you can is just like, yeah, that's tough to even fathom.
Yeah, it is. Would you ever consider getting another dog at some point?
I don't know. I mean, I love dogs, and I think pretty much every dog I've met, I've done well with them. Like, I'm good with animals in general, but it's just like, I just don't know if I want that responsibility of just like knowing in the back of my mind, like, my dog's at home. Like, I have to really plan about a bunch of things, and it's not the end of the world, but that's kind of where my head goes with the cons, is just it's a big responsibility. And especially, I've seen people who are like, have a dog and then they just still do their own thing. And it's just like the dog gets neglected at no fault of its own. Mm-hmm. So I would definitely, that would be on my mind, is like, I would not want to give my dog a bad place. And I'd rather have, maybe a house and a yard before I did that as well. But I'm not ruling it out, but I can't see it in the near future anyway.
I gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. So a house and a yard. So you probably get that, like in a month from now?
Yeah.
And just go from there.
Yeah. In Vegas.
in Vegas. The dog's going to die the moment it steps outside.
Seriously. Yeah, I remember I had a conversation with this girl one time about dogs, and like it got weird. It got almost heated because I was like, I don't know why we were talking about, what dogs actually think. Mm-hmm. And I was like, a dog doesn't know that it's a dog. Like, it doesn't have a concept of what a dog is, and mm-hmm. doesn't say like, I identify as a dog. Like, mm-hmm. therefore I want these things. And and she's like, yes, it does. Like, it can tell like all these things. And I don't know why. Like, it was just my hill to die on. I can't remember, like, because we were definitely drinking. And I can't remember the intricacies of it, but I was just like, no. No. I would not give in on dogs, like trying to get inside the head of a dog.
There's actually a pretty simple psychological experiment that they've done to figure that out with different animals. So like cats, dogs, chimpanzees, and like a variety of different monkeys as well. And it's a mirror test. That's all it is. So you just have the animal see itself in the mirror, and you'll see there's a noticeable difference between how the chimpanzee reacts, for example. Like, mm-hmm. the human sees themselves, oh, okay, that's me. The chimpanzee does the same thing, recognizes, oh, that's me. But the dog recognizes as, well, that's another thing, whatever it might be. So that's a pretty clear distinction there. I mean, I've certainly seen dogs that have looked at a mirror and just like freaked out and been like, what the hell is that? Start jumping around.
But they're not just like,
yeah, yeah, me, exactly. Yeah, they're like barking. They're like barking at quote unquote themselves. Because
right. They think it's either another dog or just something different.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's how they were able to figure that out.
But yeah, she's just trying to tell me, like, I don't know, just weird stuff about dogs knowing all these things and wanting these different things. And I was just like, I mean, dogs are definitely smart, and they can recognize people, I guess, like their owners and people that are close with them.
Right.
And I guess they want affection and they want to show affection, but at the end of the day, they just want to eat food. Like, that's their main driver. But she wanted to give them a lot more credit than I think dogs deserve, as far as like intellectual capacity.
Right. Yeah.
But I don't know.
Yeah, people get attached to different ideas. They just want to believe that something is true.
Yeah.
Especially when it's something like cutesy, like that, like a dog. Yeah, of course my dog recognizes itself and knows what it is and recognizes mm-hmm. me as, because of love and not because of wanting food or water.
Sheer instinct.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I heard a quote that says, if a lion could speak English, you wouldn't be able to understand him, because like, you could understand the words, but his points of reference would be so different that it would we wouldn't be able to relate to it at all or understand, I guess, the way that they think and the way that they live. I guess it would just seem so far-fetched to us, even though we just think like lion hunts food and goes to sleep, and that's basically it. I don't know. I don't know why I got into animal philosophy, but
That's what makes this podcast unique, because we can talk about.
You can jump around. Yeah.
I definitely never considered that before, though. That does seem true, though. Like, they don't really understand the concept of like having a hand, or different like really simple things, like hand me my phone. I mean, all that stuff would be completely foreign to an animal. They might be able to say the words, but it wouldn't mean anything.
You can't put it together in the same way to make sense to them.
Yeah, right. Yeah, animal philosophy. They should have a degree on that.
You might as well.
Invented by Kyle.
Might as well.
Professor.
I'm sure I could get away with it at certain schools today.
Probably. Yeah. Probably. He was an influential thinker of his time. That'll be on your Wikipedia page.
Yep. Can you identify as an animal? Yes. This professor says yes.
New York Times article, Wall Street Journal.
Don't shame him.
Don't shame.
Yeah, I am seeing like on a lot of different forms now that you fill out, where it's like gender, male, female. Now they have like non-binary, or trans identifies as male, trans identifies as female. Like, there's a whole plethora of like categories that you can identify with now on I guess applications, or when I was filling out a form to get the COVID test, I noticed it today as well. And I don't know what that really would help. I don't know. I don't know by doing that on the COVID form how that translates into anything. I guess getting numbers on how many trans females have COVID, maybe that's what they're looking at. But
yeah,
yeah, just an observation.
I wonder how insulting it is for a person to be called trans identifies as male,
wouldn't you just want to be a male at that point?
Exactly. Like, I think that's kind of the point. Like, you want to be called a man, then you don't want to be called, hey, we just want to remind you you're trans identifying as a man.
Yeah,
that seems to kind of throw the whole
just want to really fortify this in your mind, and so you don't forget what you were not always this. Okay.
Exactly.
I know you thought that you were, but you were not.
Yeah, but then again, I guess for statistics and stuff, you're right. Like, how can you then tease that out if everybody just
exactly. But then also it's like, people making a big fuss over trans rights. It's like, then you want to identify as trans. So I don't know.
Oh, is that something now?
Oh, yeah, it's been something for a while. I don't think it's the new big thing, but it is certainly a thing.
No, I guess
trans lives matter.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that part I've seen before.
That part,
I never thought that it was like, well, in that case, I want to be identified as trans. I thought it was just kind of, trans lives matter, but like in general, wanting to be identified as a man or a woman.
Yeah. I don't know. I could be wrong. I just don't know the nuance or the intricacies of that. It seems so clear cut. I should know,
That was sarcasm, folks.
It was, yes.
Yeah. We're really going through a revolution right now trying to figure that stuff out. I mean, all kinds of,
I know.
Non-binary, trans. You even have even within different movements, right? You have trans exclusionary feminism, radical feminists. I think TERF. I think that's it. TERF.
TERFs. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got all kinds of
trans exclusionary radical. Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
TERFs. I guess J.K. Rowling is a TERF.
Yeah, I guess. I know she's put out a few tweets that have bothered people. I don't really know the details of it, though.
Yeah. It's bothered people who would be nothing without her, but anyway, I think I already covered that, but didn't I? I went on a rant about Harry Potter going bad on her.
We may have talked about it. I don't know.
But she put out a tweet. It was like all like something about like, I don't know, sex matters, like women are women, or something the equivalent of mass murder, basically, to certain people, is what she said. And
wow.
Yeah, all the actors from Harry Potter, like Hermione and Harry and Ron.
I remember that reaction. Yeah.
Yeah. I have to say something.
Right.
It was just like, do you though? Remember who this woman is that you're about to go bad on. Just recall the $77 million in your bank account. You remember that?
Do you remember that?
You motherfucker, you.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Motherfucker.
You remember who got you here, you fucking Goomba? Yeah, just completely forget that and just like have to pander to the young woke audience. But yeah, it's strange to try to navigate all the waters. I don't claim to know, everything, the intricacies of it, but it's fascinating nonetheless to look into it every now and again. Check in, see where we are.
Check in and see where we are. Yeah. I remember
I saw
a long going back and forth about like rationality, things being based in logic. Mm-hmm. That's the line. That's the line I'm drawing. Anything beyond that, if people want to fight over it, like, I'm good. Like, whatever you want to be called, whatever you want to be spoken to, that's, I will totally respect that.
Yeah, totally. It's just like people just draw such a, you have to draw that line at when it gets so, when it can get so outrageous, and then the outrageous becomes like, you have to accept the outrageous.
Yeah.
Then it's just like deep down, you're like, I know that I'm going to just stick with my rational moral beliefs on certain things. And if you want to fight it out to the death, that's fine, because I know deep down this is how I feel, and that should be good enough. Obviously, I'll have a conversation with somebody, but I try to not have a conversation if that person is just coming into it just to yell at me, or just to not even consider that there are other elements to their belief that might be wrong. Like I always try to do that, because you always come in with your own bias, but
sure,
it's the righteousness of the bias, the level of that can be something you just have to be like, all right, just got to back away, not get emotionally invested, because we're going to let other people do that for themselves. But I saw a really funny, I might have brought it up last time, but Kyle Dunnigan, the comedian.
Yeah.
He's been on Joe Rogan a few times, but his clips that he puts out are just hilarious, like all the face swap impersonations and stuff. And he did one called The Time Canceller, where he got canceled for it's like a character, like a superhero, and he's like I was canceled for sending out a incredibly insensitive tweet, and it showed the tweet, and it just said, "Indian food smells weird." And he's like, and my body was hurled into a wood chipper, and I was put back together by strong female scientists. I am the time canceller. And he like goes back. He goes back in time to like 1863 or whatever Lincoln did the Emancipation Proclamation, and he's like, you can't call black people, because back then it was like the N-word was what people said, like even if they weren't trying to be offensive. And he's like, you can't do that. And he's like, but I just freed the slaves. And he's like, I don't care. He's like, we don't say that in our time. You're canceled. And when he cancels someone, all he has to do is tweet like a line about that person, and they're done. Like, and it just said, Lincoln is literally Hitler, canceled.
Oh man! Oh, those are so funny.
It's so good. Like, I don't know if he's done any more since then, but just perfect. Like, with how outrageous people can be, and like, like going back in time. Like, it goes back to like, so you think you would go back to that time? You're born in that era. You're not just going back in time as you now. It's like you're starting over in 1802 in Tennessee, and you mean to tell me that you're not going to hold this general same belief as all the people of that time? Like, obviously, a lot of stuff was wrong, and we're not trying to glorify that behavior by any means, but don't pretend like, no matter what time or place you were born in throughout history, that I would be above that. Like, okay.
Okay.
Sure.
No, I
bet you would.
I know I would be right in the mix of things, because like you said, you don't have a reference. Like, if you wipe everything blank and you inject yourself into that time, like, who's there saying, hey, don't say this, don't do this, don't,
I think they just think that if they go back, it's just like, I'm gonna be who I am right now. And it's like, no, you're not. You're most certainly not. Like, we had those people to learn from, in both good and bad ways, to become who we are now as a society. Like, we didn't have a groundwork of like, what everything should be back then. I mean, I would say the bulk of human history was nothing but like violence and slavery, no matter where you were on the planet.
Yeah.
Like, they're just that's just what happened. Like, it was like, we beat you, and now you work for us for free.
Yep.
See you later.
Yeah.
So it's people people forget how brutal things were, and now how easy things are now.
Yeah. There's so many different things that have changed. I mean, in obvious ways, right? Technology is such an obvious one, but I mean, social situations have changed tremendously as well. Just the way that we see people, and I mean, we've progressed, right? It's been great to see. It's been great to experience, and we still certainly have more to go. But it's funny that overall, society has decided, okay, well, we've made this much progress, but we also have X amount of work to do. Like, we recognize the social work that we still have to do. And back then, like, think, in Rome, for example, or you're thinking like in Greece or, wherever it might be, Carthage, I have my doubts, but I'm open to being corrected. But I imagine you don't have large chunks of the population being like, hey, slavery's not that great, and they weren't thinking like, how can we improve this situation for the future? Like it was very much like you described. It was kind of barbaric. It was, you win, and then you take advantage of the resources, you take advantage of the people, you do whatever you need to do. And that's why there are constant revolutions and constant upheaval and constant fighting between nations. And, when a nation lost, it was a big deal, because they lost a lot more than just saying, we're Ukrainians, or, they lost so much more than that, so much more than just their name.
Yeah, they lost their families, their culture, the land, the history. Yeah, everything was wiped out in certain places. But, yeah, it's always like, I don't know, I just look at different phases in human history. And when you look at actual, like, where human progress has been made on, socioeconomic levels, is when people are allowed to get together and exchange ideas and experiment on ideas. It's never like, we beat everybody and everything was solved. Like, we killed everybody we could find that wasn't us. And yeah, lo and behold, like, we got all this new technology and new forms of government, and things just kind of started happening for us. Like, that's never how these big technological or intellectual movements occur. I mean, certainly things can get out of hand violently based on these ideas. And I mean, certainly that's what happened with like communism and Marxism and fascism and different, trying to implement these types of governments. And it was like, well, that didn't work. Let's go back to the drawing board.
But people still think typically, in certain regards, that those did work.
Oh, yeah.
They still want to try again.
I know.
That's interesting.
It just seems that people are so either so quick to forget what happened in history, or they're just so ignorant, or just, I don't know, set in the belief that like we would do it way better than they did. Yeah. So I don't know.
It's a belief that you're special in some way.
Yeah. And you're not. Unless
and you're not.
Yeah, unless you have a dog.
We're just here
who
to
thinks you're
you.
special.
Yeah.
Your dog thinks you're special.
Yeah.
But that's because you feed him.
And not because of love.
No.
We're here to bring realism to the world. Welcome to the Homespun Yak.
Yeah, on the. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to end the podcast. You go ahead first.
No, yeah, I don't know. I was just. I'll leave that for next time. It's not even a good segue.
It's not even a good segue.
It had nothing to do at all with anything we were just talking about. I was literally just like, oh, watched a movie on the plane. Like, that's it. I think it's definitely time to go.
Oh, God. Okay. There's our week's worth of content, folks. Just stretch it out over the week. And check us out on YouTube, where we'll be posting, hopefully, unless everything went disastrously wrong or we just didn't notice.
Maybe.
which is there's a high
which is also like, why are we still talking? But who are we talking to at this point?
So you might see a video on YouTube. Who knows? We'll see. Well, anyway, thanks for tuning in, and catch you next week.